Okay,
This
I'd like to,
conference will now be recorded.
no problem. Just we need to make sure it's off before we really start talking about. Oh, did I say that? I'd like to. Oh yeah. I'd like to call the Madison County Economic Development Committee regular meeting to order. We do have a quorum, Mr. Secretary, and we need to adopt our agenda. Is anybody need to make some changes to this before we vote on it? Any updates?
Move to adopt.
Thank you. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Chair votes aye, nay. Agenda is adopted. All right, Jim circulated the minutes from last month. I looked them over. They're very detailed. I don't know, did everybody get a chance to at least glance over them?
Yes.
If there's really no changes that we need to make to them, I think they're good. I'd just like to entertain a motion to approve them, the April 14th minutes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I move that we approve the April 14th minutes.
Second? Anybody second?
Second.
Okay, made and second. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, but chair votes aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, the minutes from April 14th are approved. All right, we have the public comment, and it doesn't look like anybody's here. Anybody online, Kim? Okay, so we'll just move on to old business. Under old business, I want to look at some project updates and information. This doesn't have to be, obviously doesn't have to be detailed. And we're going to get some updates on some other current things going on, as well as some of the ordinances that we're looking at and the landfill property. So with the project updates, I'm going to start with the landfill property. Jonathan, would you like to update us, please?
Yes, and I'll try to summarize. I handed you a front and back memo of what I would say my review and research so far. I've made 2 points of contact, one with Supervisor Kathy Bender of King George County, has been a supervisor there for a while, has knowledge of that operation, as well as contacted Mr. Dacko with DEQ, who is the manager for landfill and solid waste permitting. With King George, Ms. Bender referred me to their solid waste management plan, which is online. It's a very good document. Every landfill, even our transfer station, are required, if you're permitted, to have that document. So it's got a lot of good things in there, including this, the size of their location, the life expectancy of that landfill. I believe they started around 93. They are projected, unless they get some type of an extension, because they have in the past where you can go up in height, DEQ will grant that at times. But if they do not modify any of their parameters, the current capacity is expected to term out in 2043. So when it comes to Madison counties, if, hypothetical, obviously, as we're reviewing this, your life cycle or life expectancy would, determine on your size of your operation. We have 240 some acres at our landfill, 20 of which is a existing brownfield site. We would not propose to reopen that site in any sense, so you're dealing with a little over 200 acres, and then you would have to look at any streams or things that run through that area that may move your siting. In their solid waste report, I don't have FY '25 or '26 revenues year to date. They did have their FY '23 landfill revenues, just to give you an idea of what they generated that year in commercial solids waste was 4.6 million. And that's not saying Madison County would get 4.6 million, but that just gives you an idea of serious revenues, even if we had a small operation. I'm sure at some point, Mr. Chairman, we can run some calculations on ours, but I'm just dealing with initial review at this time. On the DEQ side, and going back to the King George County, Ms. Bender did give me the contact for their county administrator, so I can make a request to meet with the landfill operations manager, so I can learn a little bit more about their operational costs, maintenance costs, compliance burden, those type of things, because we can't just be focused on the revenue. There would be some expenditures on the scientific side of testing and maintaining DEQ regulations. With DEQ, spoke to Mr. Datco, and he was able to provide me some of the Virginia code sections that deal with siting standards and design standards. I have not begun reviewing design standards. Of course, I'm not an engineer anyway, but the siting standards, my cursory review so far seems like it would be possible. I believe we have enough buffer from roadways and neighbors that are in that Virginia code section, which is cited at the bottom of your page if you ever want to look that up, that it would be so far possible if you wanted to cite one. Of course, next steps, I believe, we'll be scheduling that meeting with the operation manager of King George County Landfill, also to include developing any questions that I may want to have with the follow-up permitting team at DEQ, because they are the ones that get the final say, whether you're trying to get a certificate to construct or a certificate to operate. And of course, there's a lot of public dialogue that would happen in between. And then lastly, I believe, and this came as a recommendation from DEQ, and I would agree with the recommendation, if we get to a point after our EDC committee research analysis to where we feel like this could be feasible, we want to push a little bit further and do some more detailed analysis, that may be best to do a feasibility study. Some of that may require an environmental engineer, but we're still early on in this. So far, Mr. Chairman, it's looking good from a siting standards, but still have a lot more to review and research as we go through this process. I'm happy to take any questions or feedback, or if
Yep.
you have anything in the future you think about, email me, because I'm trying to develop a good solid list of questions, whether it's for the King George operational side or the DEQ regulatory side.
Couple of questions, and then anyone can ask. Does the King George site, does it have a recycling component?
They do have a recycling component. I did not focus on their tonnage. We have, for example, we have a 15% recycling rate we have to maintain, and their solid waste plan, they try to maintain 25%. I did not look to see if they are the benefactor of the recycling revenues. For Madison County, as an example, any recycling, those funds go to our contractor. They do not come to Madison County, but they do have recycling. Yes, sir. One thing I left off, my apologies, there is a leachate that you have to plan for and treat or transport. Leachate is very expensive in transporting to a disposal site. It has to be taken to a wastewater facility that can process that. So if you think about a lined landfill, that's why a lot of places closed, they weren't lined. But a lined landfill, a new sanitary landfill, has under drains and a lot of things. So as it rains and it percolates and it filters down through the ground, that mixes with all that good stuff that's buried under that cover. It drains out into a collection area. And you either transport that to a disposal facility, or they have invested in evaporators. Evaporators can be expensive. I think, I haven't looked at them in about 6 or 7 years. They come in on skids, big units that they put together, and you could be looking at $1 million upfront cost. However, that is easily offset because the transportation cost is astronomical. Some of their leachate was being trucked up to Jersey. Believe it or not, some places they put it on barges and floated up to a treatment facility. So it's a lot of cost in transportation. This was pre-war in Iran. You can almost imagine what it's like now. So when I was at the Service Authority, we were looking at, for a revenue model, could we debt finance a couple more evaporators? They would essentially pay for themselves in about 3 years with the calculations we ran at the time. And then you would really be making money, not only the leachate you would get from your own transfer station, but bringing in leachate from other localities. But this, right now, my research is focused on handling the leachate that would be on our site, not necessarily looking at it as an additional revenue stream. But that is a possibility as well.
I don't know how I could forget the recycling over there, because that's where the milk carton with the Apple AirTag ended up, remember?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And Waste Management is their contracted operator. Landfills, I mean, right now we have a contracted operator, but landfills of this size and the regulations that go upon it, you really need the expertise and additional labor force to properly operate and maintain.
I don't think our citizen population can handle it.
Yeah.
Today, I was at the transfer station, and I'm throwing my garbage and where it goes, putting my recycling where it goes. This person showed up with like 10 giant water bottles, empty. Pulling them out, they weren't even in bags, and just throwing them in the trash. I'm like, just go around the corner, it's right there within like 20 yards. And they're just throwing them in there.
Yeah, I'm not sure why we went away from single stream recycling. That made it easier. And then you could commingle, but I don't know if regulations change.
They were throwing it right into the trash bin.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's, I don't know if they can handle landfill.
Right.
And there is no recycling pickup service that serves Madison, is that correct?
Not that I'm aware of. Mostly folks, they'll push you to Wise Recycling, which is located in Culpeper. And that's about as close as recycling you get.
Okay, any other comments on this current project? Well, Jonathan, thank you for the work you've done so far. I'm inclined to say that this would not fly, but I think we need to pursue the research so that we do have, definitive information so that we can say, this is what it is. It's either an absolute yes or absolute no. I don't know, y'all agree with that, or?
Yeah.
And then, of course, I'll get to this a little bit later on the strategic initiatives, but we also need to consider, other possible uses for that site too. But anyway, thank you very much for doing that, and that's your area of expertise, because you even worked there, didn't you work for King George?
I work for the service authority side on wastewater and water.
Okay, all right. Next is, we've got some ordinances, current and upcoming, and Alan, if you wouldn't mind, just very briefly, and if you need to pull Jim on this, fine, just kind of give us an update on what's going on with this.
Sure. So at the last joint meeting of the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors, the amendments to Article 7 of the zoning ordinance, which is the R3 district, which was our most dense residential district. We amended that, and through that process, we also created a new R4 district, which would be our maximum level of density designed for multifamily. I think it's important to realize the purpose of that is not that we're seeking more residential density, but rather we have made a process by which we can hear proffers from would-be developers to offset development impacts. That was the core goal of that initiative, and I think we've accomplished that. So we already have our first developer looking at doing a very small development for attached housing. So we'll look at that going forward. I'll just breeze through these, and then if you want to talk about any of them, that's probably a good time. Home occupation. We started talking about this in November of last year, and there was a lot of back and forth in the Planning Commission, and it ended up in a subcommittee, which I know that Mr. Smith is working on being a part of that to do further development. And so we will wait and see how that goes. The goal of that is simply to facilitate businesses that are on the in-between stage of like truly working out of your house to where you grow, to where you have employees, to where you would need to locate on a business-zoned property. And so we're figuring out where those lines are and how to regulate that going forward. The ADU bill that came through for accessory dwelling units, the General Assembly passed and the governor signed SB 531, which requires localities to permit accessory dwelling units by right in residential zone districts. This is going to apply to all of our districts. We talked about this at the last board meeting briefly, and so I've started to draft what a local ordinance would look like. It's pretty narrow what we can do. The General Assembly only left us 9 items in which we could regulate on, so it's going to be pretty straightforward. Will there be any real economic development implications here? I don't think so. You'll have a marginally small increase in available housing is what I anticipate. The one that probably merits more conversation here is the SB 542, which is the bill that creates the recreational cannabis market. So this bill has not been signed yet. It's waiting on the governor's action by May 23rd. There's definitely interest in the county for people who would like to sell recreational cannabis. I've had a number of people inquire about it in the office on what we're going to require. It's a very large bill. I've only just scratched the surface on it. From what I'm getting, I'm thinking that there will probably be a decision that needs to be made by the board on whether this should be treated as just general retail, in which it would be subject to the same provisions as any other retail store, or there is some avenue for requiring additional setbacks or relegating this to particular zoning districts. And so that's a discussion that at some point in the very near future we'll need to have.
Across from the school, would be awesome. Is that vacant space?
So the state does require, I mean, I hear you, and that's fun. But the state does require, I'll choose my words more carefully. The state does require, I think, 1,000 feet from a school. So that's already in there. But yeah, I hear you. And I think that our local revenue for this is capped at 3.5%, if I remember correctly. So we can't just tax it in a manner that you think you should be able to, but here we are. So those are, on item 2 here, those are the zoning ordinance issues that we're looking at, so.
Does anybody have any questions on these? I've got a few, but just to open it up, anyone wants to make comments or questions on any of these 4? Judd, no. School, no. School.
One thing on the governor's action, the governor's inaction will make this law as well.
Okay.
So you don't have pocket vetoes here, you have pocket silence. So if she takes no action, it becomes law.
Which may very well be the outcome.
Yeah, likely outcome. Alan, on the, one of the things about the ADUs, and I know that Cardi, we've had some informal discussions, and by the way, there is as we did with R3, R4, there's a small task force to get this underway. Alan's leading it, Jim's involved, and then Cardi's gonna take my place this time since he has experience with ADU policy over the last couple of years. And I think really the big issue is, what do we do with A1? Is that gonna be included? Are we gonna have a provision in there for ADUs on A1 property?
I don't think Cardi minds me sharing that he would like to see the ADU provisions apply to the conservation and agricultural districts. Now, given that we have to allow these things by right in the residential district, we could apply more strict regulations to the conservation and agricultural districts if we chose. I think the real thing to consider is that in some localities, you can only have one dwelling on a parcel. We're different. We will allow you to have as many dwellings as you want as long as you have the acreage requirement. So we're really not preventing anyone now from having an accessory dwelling unit as long as you have enough acreage. The problem comes in, and this is especially true in the agricultural and conservation districts. If you're in conservation, you gotta have 10 acres per dwelling. It's a lot of room, but if grandma wants to have a casita in the backyard, then you can't do that unless you have 20 acres. The Board of Zoning Appeals hears a lot of cases on this where people want to get a variance from that particular requirement. And depending on the circumstances, sometimes they're granted, sometimes they're not. The last one I saw was Trinley Wood up near Etlin had 5.9 and some change acres and wanted to convert an existing building to a dwelling, and Board of Zoning Appeals said close enough. But you could have either a special use permit, process, or even just that you are okay for an accessory dwelling unit on these parcels, limiting it to one additional dwelling and not multiples. So that's something that I'm sure that we'll unpack at the Planning Commission level in the near future on what the appetite is for doing that. But certainly, there's almost no restrictions in the residential districts. Having to comply with the building code is optional. You could park an RV out there and use that as a dwelling unless your locality regulates otherwise. You cannot prevent the ADUs from being used as rentals, short-term or otherwise. There's a bunch of things that you can't restrict, and so the idea is to increase the housing supply, is what they're going for. Right, wrong, or indifferent, and, here we are. And so, that's going to be pretty straightforward, but certainly it'll be interesting to hear what everyone has thoughts on the other districts.
Can't,
I mean, you need a certificate of occupancy for a dwelling in the Commonwealth, yes. But is an RV a dwelling? They have made it gray in their legislation. I do not think we should permit that. We should definitely talk about that later.
and you can require a minimum 30-day lease agreement on those. Is that correct? If you're-
I think you're correct, you're right, but 30 days is short in my world.
Yeah,
but-
the thing is, we just gotta be as tight as we can get away with. I hate to say that, but.
Yeah, it's no longer short-term, it's long-term.
Okay, any more questions on these, what's going on with zoning? And there's a lot, and there probably will be even more the upcoming year, depending on what's happening in the next session of the General Assembly. Business district development, this was something that Alan brought up, and, this makes sense, particularly, I think if, Alan, do you envision this being kind of in tandem with the service district, or, what are your thoughts on this? What
If
are-
I'm being honest, I haven't decided if it's a good idea or not. Just, and the last one, I'd say, I had thought about the fellow from Culpeper who had come and said, hey, we're getting, technology development in this area because we said, on these parcels we identified, we made a district and said, these things that are ordinarily a special use in the rest of the county are by right here. And it's like, okay, well, there generally does not seem to be an appetite for data centers, which I'm okay with, certainly. But are there other things? And so I've started to go down the by rights on not just business, but the general industrial and the light industrial, and saying, okay, so of the by rights here, could you make an overlay district that looks like the Highway 29 corridor plan? Because we already did that, so can you highlight that in some way and say, these are the uses that we're okay with in this area? Or do you cherry pick maybe a few of the special uses in there? The purpose being that it didn't matter what it was zoned. In this area that we identify, we're okay with these uses as an overlay. I don't know exactly what it looks like yet. I need more time to think about it. Jonathan and I talked briefly about it yesterday, I'd say for maybe some consequences to think about of doing such a thing. And so it needs more time to brainstorm and develop that.
I'd just like to add to it, part of our conversation yesterday, it reminded me back when we were touring and researching and reporting on data centers. There is that strategic initiative, you can do a technology corridor. And then I know, Mr. Chairman, you spoke of, I think it was Harrisonburg, did a technology overlay. And then now you have counties that are moving away. They're like, we're super saturated with data centers. So from an economic development standpoint, from being your appointee to Central Virginia, Partnership of Economic Development, and Go Virginia as well, part of the target sector for this area beyond agriculture or agritourism is food and beverage. And there's also defense sectors. Now, that primarily is, the latter is stationed around Albemarle primarily. However, Greene County in the last couple of months, did some type of defense designation, which basically you're signaling to industries on where you want. So maybe if we are omitting data centers, maybe we look at admitting things like defense sector and, you know, some of those other target sectors that is part of the development, the comprehensive economic development strategy that was done for our region. So, and I'd be happy to, I think I may have circulated that one time, like when this committee was first convened, but I'd be happy to do that again so you can look at the SEDS report that went in for our area.
Okay, yeah, it's early days on that, but it's definitely in our plan for this year. All right, let's move on to Madison Hill events. How's that going, Molly?
Very well. We had over 800 attendees for the first weekend, which is most festivals' 6 or 7 year numbers, and the most local festival to the event, it wasn't their numbers until they were almost in operation more than 15 years. So that's wonderful. We had great reports from everybody that came, and they seem to really love it. And everyone that has attended has, more than 50% have bought tickets for a subsequent weekend. So repeat people. And these were individuals. We did have some Madison residents come out. It was less than 10%. Everyone else traveled at least an hour and a half to be here.
Wow.
So we're pulling from the Northern Virginia, Maryland, DC areas, and their spending habits after speaking with the vendors. When you are a vendor at an event, the goal is you make at least $1 a person through the gate, and then you know you're doing pretty well. They not only made all of their fees and everything back the first day, they made it back in the first 3 hours, as well as I had many vendors report $5,000 sales for day one, and many of them had almost 5-figure weekends, which for some of them selling an average product of maybe $300, that's a very good show return for the individual businesses that are choosing to participate with us. As far as food goes, we had 2 local food truck or food establishments that are already in Madison, aiding with the festival production, one of which was Cake Crumbs. Mary has a large cafe there. She did exceedingly well. Her food was wonderfully received. And then she also saw a heightened business at her local establishment as well from people that added her to the map as part of their coming and going. And these were not just vendors. She said they were mostly patrons. The vendors are, of course, supporting her as well, but it's the outside influence that is coming to her place as well. The other one is Los Brothers, which has a restaurant in town. They also brought their food truck to the event, reported that everybody loved their food. They were happy that they could eat things there. They offer, both of the venues offer things that are vegan or gluten-free or some kind of allergen intolerant, so that there really is something for everyone. And Los Brothers restaurant was so packed, he brought his extra relatives in for the weekend, because he's like, well, they come here, they have something, and then they see our menu online and say, oh, I have to try that for dinner. So he's ecstatic about the kind of, not double dipping, but you know, the ping pong effect that it's having on him. I see he and Mary high five every day of, oh, we're doing great. So that's wonderful to see. The energy is great at the festival. We continue to build every weekend. So we have 2 permanent stages, quite a few decks and things for vendors, and we have many vendors that want to build a more permanent business there.
Excellent.
How's
Yeah,
the blacksmith doing?
Blacksmith sold every one of his classes. He is
Wow.
thrilled. So not to share numbers, but he did more than 5 figures in blacksmith classes. So he is absolutely thrilled at the, you know, and that makes a
Right.
demonstration happening all the time. So
Right.
he has a class, I think, at 10 a.m., I believe, maybe it's 10:15 so they can get through the door. But I believe he does 4 sets of classes a day with 4 different individuals, and then he's having people inquire, hey, can we add this? Can we do this during the week? So I'm open to discussion about that with him, because it's kind of his own private thing at that point. But it has been just wonderful. We also have glass blowing classes there. That individual's from Maryland, and he has quite a few class attendees. So it's been a really wonderful experience. Mhm. Oh, and we have an equestrian show from a Madisonian as well.
oh,
Her name is Robin, and she has, what does she call it? One Step Productions, previously Two Feather Productions, but she has a Mongolian horseback archery show.
Ooh.
And she does an educational show in the morning for more of the families where they demonstrate their weaponry and show what they would have had at that time. And then they have a full-fledged sword fight on horseback for the afternoon shows.
Okay.
That is quite popular. We also have a battle experience. Someone from Madison, they've been volunteering their time to dress up as Vikings. So they have foam shields and swords, and kids can sign up with a waiver, and they battle this Viking guy. And we had 54 participants on Saturday last weekend. So it is quite popular with the kids to go beat up a Viking and learn a little bit about history while they don't really know they're learning a little bit about history, which is the best part.
That is nice.
Traffic has been a non-issue.
We have not had one accident, one person stuck in the mud, one traffic incident. No, I knock on fiberglass, whatever this says, Formica, but it's gone incredibly well. People are respectful to one another. It's honestly, we had a few Instagram influencer people that have over 100,000 followers for this type of event that said it was the most pleasant drive to get to an event they've ever had. They would love to go stay in Madison because they heard of all the wineries as they read the signs down the way. And she's already planning two more, and she's already planning 2 more trips down, because we are building so much even during the festival operating days. We don't stop building even though the festival is going on. Benches start appearing in front of people, little accessories start appearing in front of people, and they seem to be just thoroughly chuffed that someone is putting so much effort into the show, as it were.
Are the Airbnbs working with you to?
I'd like to work with them more. I think if they had booking through our website, they would have more traffic just because of that's where they're interfacing with us anyway. So I'm looking for Winter to have a whole page built out that interfaces directly. So it's a one-stop thing. They don't, a lot of our clientele are artistic, and so once they've gotten their attention, it's very hard to continue their attention to another website. But if there was a way to kind of book your package all in one, I think that would be.
It's a 3-hour investment on average.
Right, to compare and do things. So if we take away that legwork for them, I think that we would see a real boom in booking availability. We do have lots of inquiry of, how do we stay, what's local? But it's probably 20% of the people asking, when really it's 70% of the people needing it. So there's that 50% that we need to just bridge the gap on, that I think as time goes on, and it becomes a little more popular, that would be a good thing with all the Airbnb individuals, is to somehow have a booking directly through the site or a one-click type thing.
Exactly.
Oh, and KNS is wonderful, just as a shout out to them.
Oh, really?
My
They doing a good
goodness.
job? Yeah, they usually do a
Kevin
great
is
job.
fabulous, yes, will come at the drop of a hat, has made sure that the customer experience is not tolerable but pleasant. Because no one likes porta potties, no offense to them, but it's never someone's goal to utilize those. And we do have a bathroom trailer for the ADA accessible and nursing mothers, people that need aid and things like that. So it's gone very well. We're adding misters for this weekend because it is supposed to be summer weather, in the 80s, late 80s and early 90s of temperature-wise, so.
Yeah, I've been by, I guess, last couple weekends, several times up and down Oak Park, and I haven't seen any traffic backed up Fishback Road.
No, we
Matter of
can-
fact, you don't even notice there's any extra traffic going down.
Because we can hold 98 cars linear on the driveway, I don't anticipate that happening for this season, and it being any issue.
I deliberately went by on the first Saturday and sat in the entrance and observed no disruption in traffic. I didn't see any cars when I was there, to be honest, on the Oak Park or otherwise. And I drove back around to the Fox Hunters neighborhood over there, and I got as close as I could to where the event was. Turned off the car and just, got out and listened. Couldn't hear a thing, not bothering any of the neighbors. I can't speak about in principle, but in practice, I don't notice anything that would be an objection, so.
Well, it sounds like it's going really well, and it's, got a lot more potential.
It does. We have a couple of Madison high schoolers that had applied for jobs that are
Good.
working, and they were very in their shell and quiet and worked parking and said, I'm kind of bored. I said, okay, I'll put you on the team that does things. And we had them skipping through the grounds on Sunday, which he goes, I never thought I'd skip, but this was so much fun. So it's been very fun to see the whole kind of community come together in that respect.
Liberty tax.
Spinning the signs. Same outfits allowed, but
Okay, anything else on this? All right, next thing, community theater project. Britt Shankle, who many of you know, and I got together, a while back, and she's always expressed an interest in trying to start a community theater. And we met, and a few Sundays ago, we actually went up and met with Scott at Ducard Vineyards. We also met with a guy by the name of Earl Martin, who I did not know existed, but he actually owns the old Graves place, the Stone House. And that's an event venue. He turned the barn into an event venue, and I mean, it's really fantastic. And both of those gentlemen are very interested in Madison creating a theater group because, number one, it helped increase tourism. And Mr. Martin actually offered us the use of his facility to put on plays whenever we wanted to, whenever we could schedule, and free of charge. He's a big booster of tourism for particularly Graves Mountain Lodge in that area. Mr. Ducard definitely would want something done on his venue. He offered his venue to bring in more traffic. So those are two very good supporters we have. And what we're trying to do is, I'm already researching the 501c3 legal issues, but we're going to have a public interest meeting next Monday evening here at 6:30. Chuck, did Britt ever send you her letter yet? Thank you. She mentioned it at the school board meeting last night. And the goal of this is to have a community theater similar to Four County Players or the Rappahannock Theater. But in addition to that, we would link with the high school drama program. And there's interest in that. That program is struggling. 20 years ago, that was the program in the state. When Mr. Hitt was running that, I mean, they would win state championship after state championship. But it's kind of withered. So this is something that we think would definitely not only benefit the school system, but bring in more traffic. We have to see how fast we can get organized. We may be able to do something this summer as a kickoff event, a play. Scott and I talked about possibly doing a weekend or at least one weekend in October, doing a mystery dinner theater with a Halloween theme. And he loved the idea. And he's tried that before, but he brought in troops. It didn't go very well. And I told him, I said, it's tricky to do. I've done that in the past, but we would be certainly willing to put something on in the fall if we can work something out. But he said, yes, that will bring people in if you do something well. So that's kind of where we're at with this. Just like Molly's doing, we want to try to add this as something that people will actually want to come here to do specifically. And then the meeting's next Monday night at 6:30, so by all means, if you're interested in coming, please do, because this is, it's going to take some effort to get it off the ground.
Just a quick question. The barn that's behind the old hotel here that they're gonna renovate, what kind of shape is that in? Would that be that's right in town. That'd probably be a good venue.
It's in rough shape.
Is it, the barn is inside?
Brett looked at the old Presbyterian church in town, too. That's a possible venue. But, the idea is, like with the venue up at Graves's, the old farm, the idea would be you would bring in, like, the Ducard Vineyards to sell wine during the performance. Mm-hmm. The vendors, the food vendors, try to tie in different players for these events. Now, of course, when you're doing things with the school, that's a whole different ballgame with regard, you can't have wineries coming in. I know everybody love it, but you just can't be
Well, we're
doing
gonna
it.
have cannabis soon. That could be-
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's true.
That's a
Make
different
sure,
show,
Alan, we
yeah.
get the SUP for cannabis at the community theater. But that's where we're at on that. It's a fun project.
Where is your meeting?
It's gonna be right here, 6:30
On Monday.
on Monday.
Okay.
And we'll see what interest we can get going. I know, Molly, that's probably something you're interested in.
Oh, yes. And what ages would you consider community theater? We did community theater that was 8 to 98 is what they said.
That's what it's gonna be, and I
Okay.
think we're gonna have, and the other thing that Britt and I, and this is the group, would have to discuss is, what are we gonna do as far as memberships? Paid memberships for adults, students would not pay.
Sure.
And try to coordinate with the drama, the non-existent drama program at the high school, which I know for some reason or other, they just can't get it kick-started. So we'll try to involve the kids, but you would probably have plays that are gonna be like adult plays.
Sure.
And then you're gonna have some plays that are gonna be more kids-oriented. But I think too, and I've told Britt this, I think what we need to do, in addition to considering established traditional plays, why not write our own material that's tailored to what we want to do for the county? I think it'd be something a little bit unusual, maybe a novel thing to do.
You could even include the forensics team with that, because
Yeah,
they're
oh,
writers
yes.
and,
Absolutely. So, you know what was interesting? I was at the school board meeting last night, not to get off on a tangent. But they always have students coming to talk from the, do you know that the FFA had a group of students there talking about the program and what they'd like to see for the program in the future? They were fantastic public speakers, and they had their presentations down pat. Chuck, were you still there when they did it? Yeah, I remember the comment you made, which I won't repeat. But they were really good, and so that's the kind of, that's what we want to encourage these kids to be able to do. So next Monday night, and if you have any questions, give me a holler. All right, so next thing, Judd, your favorite project. How's the 250, VA 250 coming?
Are you still looking over your shoulder?
Oh, yeah, I sure am.
It's coming great. I'll just touch on the July 2nd event. It's from 5 to 8 on Library Green. We have tents coming in. We have the gazebo has been power washed now, so it's gonna look beautiful. Austin Boggs will be setting up a sound system that we can all use, but he's gonna be also playing. Right now, the Bavarian Chef will be there, and Guilty Cravings, who I'm not really sure who Guilty Cravings is. Do you guys
I
know?
don't know. Are they,
It's, traditional American.
Okay.
It's nothing.
Yeah. I think I heard there's gonna be hamburgers and hot dogs too. Typical July celebration. Face painting, color guard from the Legion will be there. Also Representative Hamilton has confirmed she'll be there, and we're still
Good.
waiting to hear back from Denman and Freitas, I think.
Reeves.
I'm sorry, Reeves.
Yeah.
I don't know who they asked. Yeah, I guess it was Reeves.
Yeah.
Culpeper Minutemen will be present, which would be, it's kind of neat that we got involved with them. So they're gonna be in period dress.
Hmm.
And just walking through the event, talking to kids, talking to people who want to learn more about what it was like back then, and how Madison, who was Culpeper at the time,
Mhm.
had put men into that squad. There'll be a choir there. Calissa Berry's gonna speak. Historical Society will keep their doors open, so people can come through there. And the big draw of the day is gonna be Cardi Yowell reading the Declaration of Independence.
Okay.
Does he
So,
need a hat?
what's that?
Does he need an Uncle Sam
Right.
hat? I have one of those.
Do you?
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah,
make them.
sure you will.
Okay. Yes, please, he's getting a hat. Tell him I need his hat size.
Madison-
Wonderful.
The Tour de Madison is going on, so we're gonna have people up at the Kriegersville School / museum. The museum will be open that Saturday for people to come in and out and learn about the mountain people who got kicked off the mountain. And hopefully we can get some of the, we can get some of the,
Not nearly enough.
the
And
Culpeper
I'll
Minutemen
go to
there.
my grave on that one.
50 cent an acre?
Exactly.
Depending on your last name.
Exactly.
So that's and we have all our banners are done, and our yard signs, and our bumper stickers, and all those you've seen them come through the county as we speak. We should get some out with you,
Okay, yeah.
get that done.
We had bicyclists come.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So yeah, that's what's going on right now.
Well, Judd, thanks to you and Nancy for really just taking that on. Because I think if this, otherwise there wouldn't have been an awful lot, I think, for the 250th.
I think people are getting excited.
Yeah.
About it, so. The draft agenda, which I think we meet this Thursday, so if we can work to finalize. I think we got, the school band is in that mix as well. The Legion, so it's kind of a breakdown, I don't know if you can see it or not, but, kind of everybody in their slots, if you will. I talked to Mike up the Legion, he felt like he didn't like combining color guards. Okay.
So we have reached out to Senator Reeves and Congressman Vindman. We have not heard from them yet. Delegate Hamilton has confirmed, as Mr. Buchanan said, so it's kind of your lineup there.
I'm kind of excited about this. Harold Woodward and Misha Jones, I'm interested to see what Misha says about the involvement of the African-American community at that time period. So that'll be interesting.
Very good. Okay, now let's get to B there, our strategic initiatives. First thing, the Board of Supervisors did approve this group to handle the legislative initiatives and proposals. So we're officially charged with that. And what I did was, I basically came up with our enumerated our 6 strategic objectives that we looked at last time. And I came up with more or less leads for each of these without having specific subcommittees. This way, these folks that are taking the lead can bring people in as they need, either from the committee or from outside the committee. If you see one of these and you really want to do it, by all means, join it. Or if you don't want to lead it, that's fine too. Somebody else can. But basically, trying to keep this flexible, and I put a due date on the first 5 is May 2027, which is a 1-year cycle. And since our cycle seems to start in May because we have planning first part of the year, those are just tentative dates. The landfill project, Jonathan, you're the lead, and you'll just continue on that as we had discussed. As I mentioned, probably what we should be doing too is try to solicit some ideas from other folks as to what else we might be able to do with that property. The tourism enhancement project, Judd, I put you as lead, but if you don't want to do it or you want somebody else to take it, we definitely have a group there, I think, a de facto group. You, Molly, Tracy would probably be heavily involved in doing that. Hoover Ridge Event Center project. Brian, the first person that came to mind, because you've always had so many good ideas about it. Do you mind taking the lead on that?
I'll absolutely take the lead on it, and just to give you a heads up, there's a startup company being formed to run travel sports through that arena.
Okay.
I can't say a whole lot about it right now because they're still being formed, but that's coming quickly.
Is that for the hockey?
Baseball,
Baseball, okay.
That's awesome.
just gotta find the funds.
Well, I like to, couple with that, Brian, I like to talk to Tracy and put in a request for the tourism committee to review pending the Board of Supervisors approval,
Well,
just to have some signage up, because we can use tourism dollars for that, but we don't even have signage pointing to
The
our park.
biggest thing about travel sports, and I've been doing it for about 15 years right now, is you have to have a place to stay. You can run one-day events through it, but I've talked to 2 event directors in the area, and they make between $100,000 and $180,000 a year in that sport alone. And the opportunity is there for 7-on-7 football, lacrosse, softball, basketball. Now that we have the outdoor rink, when we get that done, soccer is another huge one. I mean, that's a cash cow. If we had somewhere for folks to stay.
So define somewhere for folks to stay. What are the qualifications and what are the volume that you'd need for something like that?
For instance, on a Saturday, if you ran it all weekend, you would run 3 divisions, a 10U, a 12U, and a 15U. You're looking at 6 to 10 teams there, 12 to 15 kids per team,
Wow.
4 to 5 people in each family.
So you have hundreds of people.
Hundreds.
So
Hundreds.
now, is this something that you could run through, because infrastructure is obviously the kicker there. So electricity would be needed, but as far as like sewage system or processing, is it something that you could set up with composting toilets and pumpable like restroom trailers or something that's temporary at first until the funds present themselves?
It's gonna be tough because they're very interesting dynamic. Some of them want the DoubleTree, and some of them want the cheapest Motel 6 they can find.
Sure.
So, I mean, I've been to the beach where people brought RVs, and you had 400 RVs down there with kids running everywhere.
So as long as there's an option for places to either have RV hookups or even hotels. Now, does it have to be on site? Is this something that would have to be at Hoover Ridge, just available within, what's
I
the
would love
driving
to have it
distance?
within the county, because
Sure.
right now, you're pushing them to Ruckersville, Orange,
Culpeper,
Culpeper, Charlottesville
exactly.
is what you're doing. So options in the county would be and bed and breakfasts are big for baseball.
And that's
as
what
well.
my question
Right.
was gonna be, is it
Yep.
something that you could orchestrate with, okay, this is the big weekend, we have, I think it's 427 beds within Madison County,
Right.
with the private Airbnbs allotting some of those and say, hey, we have your package deal, that would be,
Correct.
okay, so that's more of a committee issue than a funds issue right away.
Correct.
Heard.
Okay. A lot of potential there as well.
I'll
so-
help you on that if you're interested.
Sounds good. Oh, that's the perfect person.
You don't have any passion about.
No, not at all, no incentives otherwise, yes.
Maybe we could have jousting tournaments. Well, of course, you have those down at your place.
It would be nice to attract a hotel, but we got to settle water and sewer first.
100%. 100%. And from that perspective, you're looking at a 2-day tournament. If you do 1-day tournaments, that kind of bypasses that, which is what's going to be my model to start with. You do the 8s and 10s on the first day, then you do the bigger groups on the second day.
I mean, but you get families that have kids in both age groups.
Correct.
And you're coming from far, you're coming in the night before.
Right.
You still need that.
So even for a one-day event, there's potential for 2 days of stay.
Sure.
Is there any, I think that it would be advantageous to reach out to even private individuals to say, hey, if you have this, here's your seasons. And kind of, here's the requirements or standards, I guess, that these families are accustomed to.
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Alan, Jonathan, have there in recent years been any interest from any company to place a hotel in Madison?
The only soft conversations I have with anybody for any size business is what's available for utilities and roads and what have you. And we're not doing ourselves any favors by not having a fully complete, public utility set up. I think that if we want to pursue these things in earnest, and I know that this is not on the agenda today, but we can unpack it more later. I think the county's going to have to spend some money for engineering to figure out how to run the sewer lines and water lines where they need to go. And we may have to build it ourselves, so that way the folks that we want to be here can just hook up. So I think if we want to be serious about it, that is an objection that will continue to rear its ugly head and not even make us in the running for things. If we want it, we're going to have to put the infrastructure in.
Okay, should that be part of the business district planning and business/service district issue?
We're currently handling that at an independent, as its own topic.
Right.
But certainly, I mean, they're going to go together naturally, but we can tie that in.
Okay. If it's advantageous to do so. I don't want to create any overlay, but coordination certainly can be a big benefit if you can get everybody together. Okay, the analysis of the tax structure. Wait a minute, did we miss business district project? Alan, you're leading that, and whoever wants to work with you on that. Analysis of tax structure. This is gonna be a huge one. Yes, Jim, let me put the correct term. Revenue enhancement.
We don't want folks
How
to
could
get
I
started.
not, how could I miss that? There's some issues there. Even if, I think it's good, the county should periodically reevaluate its taxing system. And, what's fair, what can encourage business. The thing I keep hearing since I've been on the board is a business tax. And I'm no proponent of additional taxes, but I think it's probably something that we should at least analyze, like we do everything else. So Jim, I figured you would take the lead on that. I don't know what you see as a viable timeline, and I know we would be working with the Commissioner of Revenue as well as our Finance Department, but I'm gonna leave that up to you.
And I think we might have some piecemeal recommendations.
Okay.
Some of these things are large. And we want to have the due diligence done on, as best we can.
Right. Okay, so I'll just leave that to you, because that's your area of expertise. The legislative program, this thing we've got to jump on right away. And Jim, he's official lead. I will help him with that. And of course, we'll be need to have Jonathan, actually all of us to some degree. We have to conclude the school system. I want to talk to Brian's wife, since she's our liaison to the school board, to try to find out what they might be looking at as far as any type of legislative initiatives or, support for any current current proposals. Some of the things that just come to mind is I want to also touch base with the rescue, with the EMS about the billing in place. I know there's a lot already going on with that, but is there some way that we can participate in that in lobbying efforts? Because that certainly is huge, would be huge for us, not only in the paramedicine program, but also in the regular EMS service. I'm trying to think of any other ones. Of course, Jim and I are working, again, I guess, on impact fee legislation, which is in cahoots with what, Eldon James?
Yes.
Okay. Since we will be working closely with him. But as the reason we have to move so quickly is because our legislators have told us that they really need stuff to them by the fall for the winter General Assembly session. So that's where we're scuffling. Once we get rolling on this, it won't be as big a deal, but we're going to coordinate it so that we have this voice every year. Jim, do you want to add anything to that? Jonathan, anything?
No, just other than, if you need help scheduling, I know when Cardi and I were at the Regional Commission meeting, I introduced them to Fauquier County. They do an earlier start as well, and they actually do kind of a lunch and learn environment. They'll invite their representatives in, and they'll go at it. Here's our priorities, and what are things we should be looking at when drafting language for your consideration. So, not sure when you're looking to get started, if it's around June or July, but I think that's around the time frame they begin their process.
I think we're looking at planning districts too, to see what you have on the agenda, what fits.
Yeah. Okay.
That'd be a good idea, John.
Yeah.
Okay, that's something that we'll decide a little bit later on. But Jim and I will get together and start setting up a list immediately as to where we need to go. And it's obviously, folks, if any of you have any suggestions, leads, connections, let us know. Okay. New business, we don't have a report from Tracy. She's on vacation this week. Quite frankly, we've got a lot on our plate. I mean, if we tackle these initiatives this year with any success, I think we will have done well. Is there anything else that you, the committee members, feel we need to be looking at this year?
There is one thing we've overlooked, and that was, we'd had a session here 3 months ago, I think, where we talked about the empty space, and at, what is that, Madison Plaza, the Food Line Shopping Center. And we'd had a couple of suggestions, one of which was a small data center. Our server at my office on K Street had larger space than that. I don't think a data center is in the offings on that at all. But Molly had some other suggestions, and I don't want those, I know you've kind of got a few things on your plate right now. No. But we certainly need to keep looking at that, because that would be a natural for doing set design for a theater group.
I was just going to say, setting up some kind of grant writer position or a request to volunteers in the community, because I'm sure they're out there, some talented writers. They don't even have to necessarily know the ins and outs of grants right away. That can be guided for, and I would be happy to kind of front that of working with not only some kind of maker space, even though I think that would be advantageous, particularly to the demographic of individuals of Madison, with hands-on learning and mechanics kind of being generationally in their blood, on top of the much-needed and desire for theater and more arts that have the different avenues for all the doers that we do have in this community, which is wonderful to see. But grant writing for literally any of these things that we've talked about today would be a fabulous next step. I don't know if Brian's business would be in a 501c3 kind of category, but if it were, also grants for that type of thing. I know Hoover Ridge has a grant 501c3 program that's working with them to support that project. So there's lots of niches that need that 501c3 grant writer person. So I think if we had an overarching call for grant writer persons, that might be a very, very good thing to put out there.
Yeah, and you know, Molly, I'm glad you and Jim brought that up, because that's one thing I did want to mention. We've been talking about grant writers in the county, and then I talked to different people in different departments. They're like, well, no, we really don't need it, or somebody else is doing it. I'd like to ask Brian and Jonathan, if you guys would survey our departments, including the school system. I know they now have a dedicated grant writer, but even touch base with them to see what the need actually is. Because it's just, we do, we don't. So,
I think there's a need there. It's just until you have someone to do it, you don't even really identify that the need is there and go, oh, you could help with, because even if it's a $500 grant here or there, that's 500 positive before that we didn't have. And yes, there are 50,000, 50 million grants that we can get to, but there are avenues for grants for everything that this kind of county is doing, between rural, agricultural, theatrical, mechanics, and educational. There's so many ways that grants are vastly underused and just not taken advantage of every month.
And right now, our department heads are being pulled off the street, doing these grants, or somebody in their department's doing the grant, applying for the grants, and some of them are doing an okay job, some probably not.
right.
So pulling them off the street, because we're so small, it's not really probably wise. If we can show that we can make up that salary or that money by getting these grants.
Well, and
You could
that-
even offer percentage to grant writers.
That's
That
what
isn't
usually-
often, this is the cost of writing that grant.
Right.
Plus, we've probably got that talent in the county.
Oh, we
I mean, I
Oh,
just,
yeah, I imagine.
talk about the lobbying on our behalf. I mean, I kind of swapped a corner office on K Street for this. And, there is a lot of talent here.
It's
We
hidden,
just
but
gotta
it's there.
find it and ask.
So in talking, we'll definitely put that survey out to include, we'll talk to the schools. In talking with,
Do the initial evaluations,
Sure,
and then we'll move from there.
sounds good.
in talking with Greene County, their approach is they have someone that, is familiar with grant writing and so forth. So I've got some resource information they sent to me. What I'm finding so far is localities that have them, they generally have other duties assigned, because you're not, I want to be fair, if you're doing grants, I mean, you definitely got to be on your game, so you got to be in the arena regular, but I also am understanding that it wouldn't be a 40-hour a week, 52 weeks a year, so, but we'll explore the need, the departments, some of the departments I've talked to, generally in the public safety world, I mean, they would welcome it. And definitely, if there's a utility arm of it, you're gonna need a lot of that money. So,
One thing we've discussed prior is, especially in the public safety world, is establishing a team between EMS, emergency management, sheriff's office. And between all three of us, we've had our hand in on most federal and state grant cycles out there for that specific thing. Now, that doesn't, I've sat on several peer review committees for grants, and it is 100% who you know, who you like, and who you're friends with, every single time. And I don't care if it's a federal grant or a state grant, it doesn't matter. The trick is relationships and developing those relationships if you want to get grants.
Okay. All right. So I don't think we need to make that as an official strategic initiative, but that's something, because I think it's going to be ongoing, but let's start with the evaluation process.
yeah, you have it on as the board supervisor, as the FY '27 goals and priorities, so.
That's right, it's
we'll-
on the boards.
Yeah, so we'll go through that.
Okay.
Did you want any highlights of Tracy's report? I pulled it up just to see.
Is there anything that just,
She's just
Out of the
mentioned some of them
ordinary.
that we know about, so it looks like she's doing a lot of grand openings. I mean, this and that Amish furniture outlet is already open in the old IGA space. Ace Rental, I think that's the place on Shelby Road that Mr. Buchanan spoke of, the RV place. A spa business is opening, what was the building which was formerly Bulletproof, or if you know it, maybe as Edens Insurance. The estate at Meander was awarded a 30,000 VTC grant. Meander is celebrating their 300th anniversary on June 12th. And those were kind of the highlights, sir, that she has listed here.
Alan, what's going on with the Madison Mills, old T.O. Gillen store? Is that project moving along, or?
That is coming up for a workshop next week, the second
Okay.
workshop for that one. And then we'll do public hearing in June. I mean, minor edits to her application, but it's essentially as it's been presented so far, so
Okay.
it'll be interesting.
Are you familiar with that, Molly? Alan,
Oh,
you want
you'll-
to just kind of give her a quick?
Sure. Very nice lady by the name of Diane Miller is buying what used to be a general store, and it's two contiguous parcels. There's a residence on one and used to be a store. If you go out Orange Road to 15 and you were to take a right, you go over the bridge into Orange, the bridge didn't used to be there. It used to be one over, and so when they moved the bridge, the business went out. So what she's doing is she's taking that space and she's doing a cooking school. But like, the way I describe it, it's for date night cooking school, right? So you would go for your weekend getaway and go with your spouse, significant other, whatever, and do the morning session. They break for a couple hours in the middle of the day, and then they come back in the afternoon. And so there's a tourism initiative in the Commonwealth for, 72-hour activities, they call it. So that's what she's gearing her business towards. And so it's a very good use of that space. And she certainly is putting a lot of thought into this, and so I hope that she does well. But it's neat.
I remember when that bridge used to be there in front of the store, and I went and I bought a Trans Am from Reynolds Pontiac. And Kevin Reynolds took me out in the car, and we started back this way, and we came over the hill, and he said, now, you should never do this, but if you just happen to go down this hill, you could probably hit that curve at Gillum's Mill at least 60, 65 miles an hour, and this car will hold it. But you really shouldn't do that. So, of course, I'm driving. What I do? Down there, doggone, he was right. I could take that curve at 65, and you shouldn't do that because how many wrecks people were killed on that curve? That was a good car. I wish I still had it. Oh, yeah. Be like the Knight Rider. You better do the turbo boost and jump the river. Okay, well, look, guys, I think we've had a productive meeting, and I think things are moving along. We've got a lot of good stuff going on this year. And congratulations to you, Molly, for your efforts that you put into that venue over there. It looks like it's a real success, and certainly a great addition to Madison County. Is there anything else we need to talk about? Alan, anything? Jonathan?
Follow up next time on RSA.
Okay, sounds good. All right, any public comment?
Yes.
Chuck? Anybody online? Okay. All right, we'll look at meeting again next month, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn. I have a motion and a second simultaneously. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye. Aye, chair votes aye. Thank you all very much.
This conference is no longer being